Once upon a time, a long time ago, the devil, tired of his traditional role as the adversary, decided to start his own church. Yes, you heard that right. The Prince of Darkness was determined to create a new cult where evil could be practiced openly, without pretense or subterfuge. A church where his followers could freely indulge in all their vices and perversities. After all, he thought, if people practiced evil in secret, why not do it openly? With this fixed idea in his mind, the devil ascended to heaven to seek God's approval. With his black cloak billowing and a mischievous gleam in his eyes, he presented himself before the Almighty. God received him with serenity and mild curiosity.
"What brings you here, Prince of Darkness?"
God asked with a calm smile.
I come to propose a new order, Lord. I want to found my own church on earth, where people can practice evil openly, without fear, without remorse.
God pondered for a moment, observing the determination in his adversary's eyes.
"Very well, Lucifer. You have my permission. But know that human nature is more complex than it appears,"
said God with an enigmatic smile. The devil, not willing to back down, insisted.
Complex, but isn't that what people desire, Lord? The freedom to follow their deepest desires without restrictions. I'm just offering them what they already seek in secret.
God, with a thoughtful look, responded.
"Lucifer, you underestimate the duality of human nature. Even in darkness, there is a yearning for light. And in light, there are shadows they themselves do not understand."
Then tell me, Lord, why allow me this endeavor if you believe I will fail?
God smiled, a smile full of mystery and understanding.
"Because, Lucifer, humans need to learn for themselves. And perhaps by seeing complete darkness, they will better understand the light. Go create your church, but be prepared for the unexpected."
And so it was. The devil descended to earth with a clear and determined purpose. He chose a strategic location to establish his church, a place that was easily accessible and highly visible. In no time, the temple was erected, a dark and majestic structure adorned with symbols celebrating vices and perversions. Its doors were opened, and soon the first curious souls began to arrive. Word spread quickly, and the church was soon filled with followers. Men and women of all ages and social classes, from the poorest to the wealthiest, were drawn by the promise of a life without remorse. The idea of indulging in all their desires and sins without fear of condemnation was irresistible. Each brought their own temptations, fantasies, and dark secrets, ready to be lived out openly. The hallways of the church echoed with laughter, moans, and forbidden words, creating an atmosphere of debauchery and transgression. The devil reveled in the initial success. He walked among the faithful, observing with a satisfied smile as they indulged in carnal pleasures, theft, deceit, and betrayal. Each sinful act was a victory for him, a confirmation of his power over humanity. He felt the almost palpable satisfaction, like an energy that fueled his very essence. He moved gracefully and authoritatively among them, his black cloak billowing.
Follow your desires,
He proclaimed, his voice echoing through the main hall of the church.
There's no sin in my church. There's no judgment. Here, you're free to be who you truly are, without masks, without fears. Give in to your deepest desires, for this is true freedom.
His eyes gleamed with a malevolent fire as he watched the enthusiastic response of his followers, who surrendered even more to their passions. The Devil's Church became a refuge for those seeking to escape the moral constraints of society. Lavish parties were organized, where gluttony, lust, and greed were celebrated as virtues. Wine flowed like a river, and the tables were always laden with delicacies. The devil mingled with his followers, encouraging them to push beyond, to explore new limits of depravity and pleasure. And they, seduced by the promise of impunity, followed him blindly, believing they had found true liberation. However, in the shadows of the corridors and the dark corners of the church, something unexpected began to take shape. There was an unsettling silence, almost imperceptible, that infiltrated between the laughter and the moans of pleasure. Small acts of kindness emerged like sparks in the darkness. A look of compassion, a hand extended to help, a sincere smile amid the chaos. These moments, though rare, were intense and genuine, and began to multiply subtly and mysteriously. The devil, initially dismissive, observed these manifestations with disdain. Mere weakness, he thought, an insignificant flaw in human nature. But as these acts became more frequent, he began to feel a growing unease. There was something there, something he couldn't control or predict. A murmur of regret, a whisper of redemption, spread among the faithful like a silent virus. The contrast between the openly practiced evil and these unexpected expressions of goodness created a tension that was almost palpable in the air. The devil began to realize that human nature was more complex than he had imagined. He saw the internal struggle in the eyes of his followers, the conflict between immediate pleasures and the echoes of a dormant conscience. The spectacle of decadence he had created was, somehow, being corroded by these small but powerful acts of virtue. It was as if a faint but persistent light was trying to penetrate the absolute darkness he so cherished. Yet, this is a story for another time. For now, the Devil's Church was a spectacle of decadence and the apparent triumph of darkness over light. The devil continued to revel in the sight of his followers indulging in their darkest desires, ignoring the silent threat forming in the shadows. The true battle between good and evil was just beginning, hidden beneath the surface of the rampant debauchery he had instigated. At first, the new church was an overwhelming success. People loved the freedom to act on their darkest impulses. Theft, lies, betrayals, everything was allowed and encouraged. The temple became a refuge for those who longed to escape the moral constraints imposed by society. But, as with everything in life, things did not go exactly as the devil had planned. As time passed, he began to notice something curious. His followers, those who should have completely surrendered to evil, began committing acts of kindness. At first, they were small gestures, almost imperceptible. A man, for example, who had joined the church to indulge in gluttony, was seen sharing his food with the hungry. A woman, who sought in the new faith the freedom to give in to wrath, was caught controlling her anger in a moment of provocation. These incidents, although isolated, began to trouble the devil. Intrigued, the devil decided to investigate more closely. He began to observe his followers with greater attention, lurking in the shadows and listening to their conversations. It was then that he noticed something even more disturbing. These acts of kindness were not accidental. This realization shook the devil. He, who had always believed in the absolute corruption of humanity, began to question his understanding of human beings. How could they, even immersed in an environment that encouraged evil, still see good? The devil found himself facing a dilemma. He could not allow his church to be tainted by acts of virtue, but he also could not understand how to completely eradicate the inherent goodness in the human heart. This duality, this complexity, left him restless and frustrated. Perplexed, the devil decided to interrogate his followers to understand what was happening.
Why did you share your food with those hungry people?
Asked the devil, staring at a man who had indulged in gluttony.
I don't know, I just felt they needed it more than I did.
And you? Why did you control your anger when provoked, when you should have given in to wrath?
Questioned the devil, turning to a woman who sought the freedom to indulge in wrath within the church.
Because suddenly, I felt calm. I couldn't help it.
The devil furrowed his brow, irritated and intrigued, turning to a man known for his greed.
And you? Why did you give money to a stranger?
I felt a strange sense of generosity, something that stopped me from being stingy.
And you, who give in to lust, why did you decide to abstain today?
I can't explain it. I just felt it was the right thing to do.
The devil, seeing his expectations being challenged, began to understand that human nature was far more complex than he had ever imagined. The devil was perplexed. How could this be? He questioned his followers, trying to understand what was happening. The answers he received left him even more confused. Some said that after so much wickedness, they felt a need to do something good. Others confessed that, upon seeing others' misfortunes, they couldn't help but feel compassion. Disillusioned, the devil returned to heaven to report his failure to God. He found the Almighty once again, this time with a downcast expression. The flames of his ambition had been extinguished by the complex and unalterable reality of human nature.
Lord, I have failed. I cannot keep my followers on the path of evil, for kindness arises spontaneously and inevitably.
Confessed the devil with a heavy sigh of defeat. God, with his infinite wisdom and deep understanding of the human soul, simply smiled serenely. His eyes reflected a comprehension that transcended time and space, a perception of the intrinsic balance that governs humanity.
I warned you, Lucifer,
Said God, with a tone of patience and compassion.
the truth is simple and powerful. Human essence is a mix of light and shadows. Good and evil coexist in everyone, and no plan, no matter how ingenious, can change that reality.
The devil looked at God, trying to grasp the depth of those words.
But Lord, how is it possible that goodness emerges even when all conditions favor evil?
God, with a benevolent look, replied,
The human soul is an enigma, Lucifer. Every person carries within themselves the capacity to love and hate, to create and destroy. What you tried to do was separate what is inseparable. Good and evil are intertwined in the human heart, and it is in this constant struggle that the true essence of humanity is revealed.
So, is there no hope for me?
asked the devil, feeling more lost than ever.
Hope always exists for everyone, even for you. But remember, the true victory is not in destroying goodness or dominating evil, but in understanding and accepting the duality that exists in every being. This is the essence of existence, the balance that keeps the universe in harmony.
And so, the devil's church, which began with so much fanfare and expectations, ended in a valuable lesson about the duality of human nature. The devil, defeated, returned to his former rule, and humanity continued its eternal dance between good and evil. This was the story of the devil's church, a narrative filled with irony, drama, and a touch of humor, which makes us reflect on the complexity of the human soul. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming adventures. Until next time.